Okay.
Tap it. So just tap it now. There we go. All right, walk away. Don't go in front of it.
That's okay.
Walk away.
Don't do that either. Okay. That was fun. Whew. Woohoo!
I got Budweiser
Oh boy.
right behind my head. That's right. I like it.
There, rolling there. All right, ready?
Ready?
Sure.
3, 2, 1. All right, everybody. Welcome to the Terminal Bar Podcast, live in Minneapolis, Minnesota.
So how long does the intro go for?
Couple minutes. Or a minute.
Okay.
Let's try that again. 3, 2, 1.
Go ahead. You want to do that part?
All right, everybody. Welcome to the Terminal Bar Podcast. Make some noise.
Yeah.
Recording live from Minneapolis, Minnesota, Northeast.
The Terminal Cast. That doesn't go well. Hi, Rob Dixon. This is Sammy G. On the
Thank you,
intro
Rob.
and running the sound. Tonight's guest is Gary Growden. You may not know Gary, but Gary is a singer-songwriter. But his claim to fame would be being a guitar player for the world famous, best-known Neil Diamond for many, many years. And Gary has honored us by coming in and hanging out with us and telling some stories from his career. And I am excited to hear about this. And I know Sammy G.
Oh, yeah, I'm excited too,
He's
Gary.
excited
Thanks
also.
for
And-
being here, man.
Absolutely. Thank you guys for having me. And remember, they're all stories, and they're only about half true because that's all I remember.
As you hear his voice, you can see why he's an awesome singer. Because he was playing last week here, and I was like, holy crap, is that a voice? I mean, I have a good voice at times, but man, that was a sweet voice last week.
Well, I hope tonight's one of them.
Takes one to know one, Rob.
I know, right? A good voice is a good voice, right? Right. I know it. So let's start right away. So you mentioned earlier that you were born in Minnesota?
I was born in Zumbrota, Minnesota.
So where is that at?
Well, from here, you can't get there.
Well, that's
But it's south of the cities, about halfway between here and Rochester on 52.
Oh, okay.
It's a ways down there.
What's the name of it again?
Zumbrota.
Tell us about Zumbrota. Is it a small town? What do they have there?
It sounds like a huge
Well, now that we moved out, my mom is one of 17 kids, and we moved out, and I think the town is still there.
Yeah, that was the whole population right there?
Well, most of it, yeah.
17 kids?
Yeah.
Wow.
Wow, man.
I know, I don't think they knew what caused it back then, but it's good.
Oh, there goes the lights.
That's all right.
All right, just pause, guys.
All right,
I don't know why. We can just edit it.
hold still.
Hold still. So will they go off like tonight when somebody's playing?
We'll just do this.
What are you doing now? Is it a flashlight?
He's going to tape it to the top of that little podium thing, or whatever you call it, music stand. Podium.
If there's a remote out, that's what you can do.
All right, that was a good beginning.
Of course it was.
What do you got, a remote?
Yeah, these go.
Oh,
So
there you go.
this way it won't.
Whew! That's a bright one.
Yeah, sorry.
It's all right.
All right.
It's all right, at least.
And we're back! Okay. You want to tap the camera again?
You can try and dim these.
Do you need to? Or you can dim those. Dim that
I don't know
little
if it's gonna let me.
I'm still holding still, by the way.
Oh yeah, that one's bright. Oh my gosh.
It's all right.
You just point it down.
Yeah, there you go. Oh, I got my hat.
Yeah.
Keep the
Sun out of my eyes.
Do that one also.
This one?
Nope. Down. Yeah, that'll help you a lot.
Yeah, too bad we don't have a terminal bar sign on the sheet.
There.
Yeah.
I'm not blinded by the light. Wrapped up like a douche, you know the rumor in the night.
Shoot. All right. Do it from the top or keep rolling?
Let's keep going.
Yeah.
All right,
just
so
keep
where
going.
were we?
I don't know. We have 17 kids. They don't know what causes it, and
So we have
All
17.
right, wait. Let's try that again. I got to clap real quick. Does that look like it's
fine.
That's fine.
Yeah.
It's so freaking dark. Okay, 3, 2, 1.
So you have 17, she had 17 kids in her family, right?
yeah,
So how many kids brothers and sisters did you have growing up?
4.
4 brothers?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, 3 boys and 1 sister.
Okay,
So-
that's different. But all right.
Yeah. And I was the first baby born in the hospital in Zimbrota, and there was a plaque or a brick carved with my name on it.
No kidding.
And the year, and they tore the building down, and
Did you get the plaque or not?
no, I wanted
That
it.
sucks.
That sucks.
So what year was that?
19 something.
Okay.
Rob.
Well, no, I mean, well,
No, I don't mind.
It's 1950
So
something.
1950.
Okay.
So where did you go after Zimbrota?
Well, no. First of all, so you were born there. You were the youngest of the brothers.
No, I'm second.
Okay. So how long did you spend in Zimbrota?
Yeah, my dad was a farmer in Goodhue, and then he got a job, a real job. Instead of farming, like that's not a real job.
Yeah.
Right.
What did he farm?
Yeah. What did he farm?
What did he farm? Yeah.
Just actually brown Swiss cattle.
Oh, okay.
He was one of the
Yeah.
only brown Swiss cattle
So
guys
that's where
in
Swiss
Minnesota.
cheese comes from.
That's where chocolate milk comes
Oh,
from.
that's so close. That was so close.
Yeah. Then he got moved to Chicago, so I grew up down there and
We're in
went
Chicago.
to high school and
Well,
down.
so they go to a different farm in Chicago.
No, he actually went to work at the racetrack.
Oh.
And he
As
was
what?
the maintenance carpenter at the Ford manufacturing plant in Chicago Heights.
Mm-hmm.
Chicago,
So,
right?
yeah.
How
Yeah.
old when you were you?
So I was just 5 when we moved down
Okay.
there, and went to grade school there and high school there, and
So were you in the city? I'm actually spent a lot of time in Chicago too.
yeah, out in the far south suburb, Homewood, Flossmoor,
Okay.
way out south. 180th and Kedzie is where I lived.
Wow,
So-
180th and Kedzie. Okay.
Yeah, it's down there.
180th.
That's
Yeah, that's quite a ways down there. That's made. What'd you guys do down there?
Well,
You went to school.
I went after high school. I graduated at 17 years old and went
Brag.
straight
Someone likes
into
to
the
brag a lot.
Navy.
Huh?
I went straight into the Navy at 17 because it was right in the middle of Vietnam, and my parents couldn't send me to college, so I was going to be A1 draft front row Vietnam. So I enlisted in the Navy thinking I might have a chance at learning how to do something. And
How long were you in the Navy?
Well, like a lot of young men at that time.
yeah,
too, right?
yeah. And the times were different then, especially with Vietnam. They were grabbing everybody and anybody, and excuse me. So your active duty was shorter. I was in for just less than 2 years,
Okay.
and came out and I thought, well, what in the heck am I going to do? So
So let's flip back. So when you got the Navy, where did you go off to?
nowhere.
Or you just-
I went to Great Lakes, and I went to San Diego for some other training, and Charleston, South Carolina, and Norfolk, Virginia, and then I was discharged because I had eczema on my arms, and they didn't want to send me anywhere weird because you get jungle rot or whatever the heck they were afraid of. But
Well, lucky you. Wow.
Yeah,
You
so
lucked out on that one.
I was good.
That's a new band name, Jungle Rot.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Even
that
to
was a-
even to go way further back, I just have a quick question. You graduated at 17. Were you just an
Yeah.
exceptional student, and did you love
No,
school?
I was just young, and just my birthday wasn't until later
Oh,
in the year.
So
and-
technicality, yeah.
Yeah, just one of those
Nice try, though.
technicalities, and I wasn't that sharp.
But you graduated, that's something.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you
There's a
go.
lot of people who don't graduate. I did, but that's a different story.
So the
It's not
funny
about me.
part of the whole story is I had no idea what I was going to do. I got a job as a shoe salesman, but
What kind of shoes?
Florsheim.
Oh, that's
Florsheim shoe. I don't even know if they make them anymore, do they?
It didn't even come off the tongue very well.
And my commercial was pair after long wearing pair. In fact, every 4 seconds of the business day, another pair of Florsheim shoes is purchased. Thank you very much.
Awesome. That was a radio spot?
Yeah, that was, yeah.
Cool.
So
So do you actually do that on the radio for those shoes?
yeah. Well, there was
Oh, wow.
only like 8 people living in Chicago at that time. Cars were all black. So it was weird times. So being a creative shoe salesman, I had an idea. And remember, I'm only 18 and a half at this point, not quite 19. I wrote a 28-page business, we didn't even call them business plans, it was an outline, Roman numeral 1, ABC, Roman numeral 2,
Old school.
ABC.
That's old school.
Yeah, and we didn't have copy machines, so I wrote up this outline and I put them on a mimeograph machine, those little crank things,
Oh my God.
purple ink, and they smell like ammonia.
Yeah.
Made up a whole bunch of copies and took them out, knocking doors on all the businesses in town.
Well, what was the business?
This is what a coffee house should be. Remember in 1968, there weren't a lot of coffee. They didn't have Starbucks or
of course.
those types of things. So these were like where beatniks would hang out, and you'd play Bob Dylan or poetry in the corner.
Yep.
So being in Chicago and Chicagoland area, I had a business donated to me rent free anyway. I didn't own it, but Commonwealth Edison donated tables. All the businesses in town donated coffee machines, and all we had was coffee with a little chocolate syrup or apple cider with a cinnamon stick. And
ComEd. They've taken a lot of my money throughout the years.
Did it work?
Yeah.
We were so successful. It was a 50-cent cover charge back then, and I think coffee was a dime if you wanted chocolate in it. I bought donuts at the Jewel food store, grocery store.
So you worked there and you ran it and everything else?
Oh, I owned it without owning the building. It was my business, my company, and we had lines for blocks and blocks and blocks long down the street, night after night after night after night, and we had local musicians coming into play. And at that time, there was a young rascal named Steve Goodman. Steve Goodman wrote "Riding Down the City of New Orleans." You've heard of Steve Goodman,
yeah.
And he wrote "You Don't Have to Call Me Darling, Darling."
Yeah.
That's Steve Goodman.
Cool.
And another guy named John Prine. All started there in my coffee house in the Earl of Old Town. And I didn't know how to play guitar at the time, so I'm sitting there watching John Prine, watching Steve Goodman.
So
I just memorized their finger pattern.
Oh.
So I went to Sears and bought a guitar for $12, put it on my Sears card, and made $8 a month payments for like 4 years.
So, quick question.
Guys, I don't want to get too far ahead.
Yeah.
I really want to hear throughout your early life how music was involved. Like in high school. Did you have bands in high school? Did you learn to play? When did you first pick up the guitar? Were your parents?
You just said that.
No, that was my guitar part. But I grew up. I grew up. When I first moved to Chicago, my parents, I didn't know how to play drums. My parents bought me one of those little toy drum sets.
Mm-hmm.
I think they were cardboard heads, and so I just started playing drums. And their insurance agent was at the house one night, and I'm down in the basement playing my little toy drums. I'm 5 years old, soon to be 6. So I was growing quickly, and the insurance agent says, "Oh, who's that playing drums? It sounds like he's got some talent." My mom jumps up. "Oh, I'm so sorry. We'll go make him stop." No, let him play. It sounds like he's got some talent, got some rhythm. And so he came down to the basement and listened to me for a while. He said, "Would you mind if I brought somebody here to listen to him play?" So my mom said, "Sure. And what the heck do you do?" This is 1956.
Yeah, there's no stranger danger yet, right?
Yeah, 1956, they didn't have weird guys yet. They evolved as
They're
years
locked
went
up
on.
somewhere, yeah.
So he came down and listened, and he said, "Would you mind if I brought somebody to listen to him?" And I don't know if you've ever heard of Louis Bellson, one of the most famous jazz drummers. He invented the double bass.
Oh, yeah.
He was married to Pearl Bailey. So Louis Bellson was just starting urban city mentor youth program.
Okay.
And so he took me under his wing and taught me how to play drums. And I got sponsored actually by Gretsch Drum Company.
Really?
Yeah. I played with a guy named Max Roach, Don Lamond, Philly Joe Jones, Ed Shaughnessy from Johnny Carson. Max Roach was Duke Ellington's drummer.
So how long did you play drums for? I mean, you didn't do all this at
From-
5 years old. To
Yeah.
6.
So they just saw the potential.
Yeah, yeah,
You
so
at
this-
that young age.
Yeah. So it was excuse me. I was 9 years old, and I did a 2-hour and 45-minute drum solo at the World Teenage Show in New York, sponsored by Gretsch. The guys put me up on stage and told me to start playing something, and they walked off to go have their little business meeting, and I think they forgot I was still there.
How
They-
long?
They came back 2.5 hours later, and 2 hours and 45 minutes.
Well, nobody told you to stop.
So yeah, and I didn't know any difference. I'm 9, so I just kept playing. So
So were you tired at that point?
well, I don't know. I was 9. It was like
I
you
bet
get
you were.
tired. They just kept turning that key and winding you back up.
Okay.
Like those little monkeys.
Mm.
So anyway, so I then obviously at the World Teenage Show I was recognized by a few other big key players, and I recorded an album as the drummer for Frankie Lane, High Noon album, and Rawhide, and yeah, all that stuff back in 1959.
So how old were you recorded?
9.
Yeah, this is all
Going back to that, so for a 9-year going into a studio, how freaky was that? And did you know? Were you freaked out, or were you just like, oh, this is what life is like? I'll put
Yeah,
it together.
at 9 years old, you don't know what a studio looks like.
Exactly. You're like, okay, I guess
It was like my basement.
Okay.
So yeah, coming from a drummer, like what was your appeal? Like, did you just know how to like dig into that snare? Did you have good groove?
I had
or
good
you-
rhythm,
yeah.
and my speed developed with Louis Belson had me work on things, and
Were you traditional grip?
I
or
was
mash
traditional grip. Yeah.
Yep.
I didn't do the overhand grip. I did do later because I started playing with some local rock bands, or classic rock nowadays, but rock bands, and I was at the International Battle of the Bands. We played against bands like Styx, REO Speedwagon. My
Really?
band was called Noyb, N-O-Y-B.
Did you ever meet any of the Styx guys?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, and Kevin Cronin was a good friend of mine from Chicago.
Oh my.
Kevin Cronin, the lead singer for REO, and
I interviewed James Young on a
Oh.
show, on a radio show.
yeah. So fast forward then, when I went in the Navy, then I quit playing with all those little rascals, and I came out, started playing guitar, and I had a phone call from Kevin Cronin wanting me to play drums for REO. And I turned him down because I was going to go
my
play guitar for Neil
God.
Diamond.
Are you kidding?
I got a little ahead in the story there with
Yeah, that's a big
Neil
jump.
Diamond, but
Yeah. So it's what clubs did you play in Chicagoland? Do you remember any of the clubs? And this is right out of the Navy. You learned to play guitar.
Well, I was in my own coffee house, and I learned watching Steve Goodman, watching John Prine, and memorizing their finger placement on the neck.
So are you working at this time, making coffee and?
I'm selling shoes. Are you kidding?
No.
Oh yeah. At night, I ran my coffee house.
Okay, so but you're serving the coffee, right?
Yeah.
And you're watching everything going on.
Well, we had waitresses and stuff.
Okay, I'm just
We
gonna
had-
ask. You have coworkers and.
Yeah.
Okay.
We had a good staff there, and
So
so
this was your business. You were doing all this, and
Yeah.
you're selling shoes in the afternoon.
yeah.
The coffee thing at night. You're making coffee. You're doing all this stuff. You're how old? You're 19, 20 years old,
I'm 18, soon to be 19.
and that seems really impressive at that age. Isn't it?
Well,
were you like, I'm just gonna do this and see what happens? Were you like, I don't care. I'm just gonna try it and see what happens? And,
Exactly. Well,
Okay.
remember back in those days, not that it was easier then. The times were different.
but you didn't learn how to make
But
coffee in the Navy, which is not hard to make
Yeah,
coffee.
but you've heard the saying: if anything's worth doing, it's worth doing well.
Yeah,
Right?
okay.
You've heard that saying.
Mhm.
My saying
I should have
was,
followed myself, but go ahead.
my saying is, if anything's worth doing, it's worth doing poorly.
Okay.
Until you learn to do it well. Just do something.
That
I
sounds
wasn't
like
a
me.
good drummer when I started. I wasn't a good guitar player. I wasn't a good songwriter. But do something.
Yeah.
Start.
So how long did you have the coffee shop?
And I got better. Well, it was so successful. I actually bought that building,
Okay.
and I bought a second place in Chicago. I bought 2 more later in Denver. I had one in Dallas. I had 7 coffee houses.
What were they called?
Right after my 19th birthday. The Dangling Conversation, like the old Simon and Garfunkel song.
Wow.
The Dangling Conversation. And I sold them right after my 20th, October 10th, 1970. I sold the coffee houses to a company out of Dallas called Bobby McGee's. And they operated them as a coffee shop / wine bar, early stage wine bar in the 70s and 80s, or up till I think early 80s, 82-ish.
Did you make a good coin off that one? That's that?
Yes, I did.
Nice.
And I'm thinking, I'm not selling shoes anymore. But remember, I bought a $12 guitar at Sears,
Yeah.
and so I wrote 3 songs with the only 3 chords I memorized from Steve Goodman and John Prine.
That's how you go. Let's start with the 3 chords. 3
Yep.
chords and the truth.
And so I wrote my 3 songs, and I'm playing them in my coffee house. The only 3 songs I knew, and I was going to bring up whoever. But there's a guy sitting there, little flat top, big belly, big red suspenders, and little stubby cigar, because you could smoke back in those days.
Yeah.
And he pulls his cigar out of his mouth and reaches in his shirt pocket and he goes, I want you to come see me Monday morning. And he throws his card on the table and I'm, okay. So I pick it up. It's Hal Monroe, president of the ABC.
Wow.
So I went down to see Hal and 28th floor
You
of the
make it so
Playboy
casually.
Building.
I went down to see Hal, like president of ABC Records. No.
Yeah. Well, he couldn't make it tonight, but he said to tell you all hello.
So how many songs did you play before you?
I played 3 songs.
Your songs you wrote.
The only 3 songs I knew in the world,
What were
and
the
the only
songs
3
called?
chords. Heck if I know.
Oh really?
One was about Biafra or something at the time, and they were like hunger walks.
I heard you play
songs.
I heard you play last week. How different did you sound then than you do now? And I'm dead serious. 'Cause
Well,
were you did your voice break? Were you singing more a higher range? What was the kind of the tone?
well, I had no tone. I don't know. He didn't want my voice. I guess he did. When Hal Monroe said, come see me, he wanted my voice and he wanted my guitar. I must have played really clean C, F, and G.
Yeah.
That's all it takes.
And he said, I want you to play with one of my boys. And that
Okay.
was Neil Diamond. So I had to learn like E, F, or E, A, and D, and I had to learn minors. And I'm like, whew. It was a crash course on sevenths. You know, how do you make a 7th out of a D?
So when you went down and played with this guy named Neil Diamond, what were your thoughts on this? So was Neil established at that point in time?
Are you kidding? Yeah.
Okay.
And Holly Holy, Sweet Caroline was out then.
What year was this?
I'm a believer. This is late 69. I'm scrambling through my brain for dates.
That's fine. That's fine. So I'm just saying.
But Cherry Cherry, Thank the Lord for the Nighttime, all those songs were out. I'm a believer. So I started playing with Neil and.
So what was that? No, what was that introduction like? You walk in and there's Neil Diamond there. You know him at that point, right?
Well, Neil wasn't at that meeting. He said, "I want you to play with one of my boys." And
when you first met Neil,
yeah,
you walk in. Were you like starstruck? Or you were like, oh my gosh.
No, I can't believe he didn't recognize me.
From all the coffee shops you had?
Yeah, you ever been to my coffee house, Neil?
Yeah.
And he was doing Greenwich Village, but he was doing all kinds of concerts at that point because he was Neil Diamond. He had many hits at that point, and I went on the road with him, and I'm writing songs during those days, thinking I am Neil Diamond, and I was the only one that thought so.
Well, let's go back real quick. So the first time you meet him, are you learning his songs and going on the first show? Are you doing a show at a place? Are you going in the studio
I didn't do any studio work for him.
Huh?
I didn't do any studio work.
Are you just on tour?
Yeah, we were just on tour.
Sure.
I was a rhythm player, and a few of the times to start off, I actually did a warm-up show for him.
Well, let's
with
go
it.
back. Let's go back to the first show because you're going too
Oh,
fast. And I want to get.
I'm just gonna cut right here, guys. We gotta keep it moving.
Okay.
We're running.
Can we get the
we
first
with open mic has to
All right.
set up. So
Yeah.
So yeah, let's pick it up. Rob, you did a great job with talking about Neil Diamond and stuff.
Can we just do the first show?
Yeah. So it mentions in your biography. We'll just cut it here.
Yep.
So Gary, it mentions in your biography you went on tour with Neil Diamond and played radio shows across the country. Can you tell us about that?
Yes. Being in Chicago, WJOB from Hammond, Indiana, picked up a local boy that's done good. And he's playing with Neil Diamond, and we have Neil Diamond and Gary Growden right here in the studio today. And I think those are on YouTube today, some of those.
No kidding. So we can search for those and pull those
Yeah,
up? Wow.
yeah, Gary Growden
Cool.
and Neil
We'll
Diamond
have to do that.
YouTube. So, but I'm writing songs, like I
Yeah.
said, thinking I'm Neil Diamond, and Neil didn't do other people's songs. So he liked me, he liked my songs. He sent them out to some publishers. They got picked up by country artists. So
that surprised you.
it surprised me because I was a jazz drummer, a jazz and classic rock drummer. Now I'm a folky pop guitar player writing country songs. So it was a weird mix of things, but it's music is music is music. I didn't care what came out, I suppose, at that time. But they got picked up by country artists, and I went on to be the 1980 and 81 Country Music Songwriter of the Year.
What was the first one you did?
So I'm seeing Gitchy Gumi.
Well, Gitchy Gumi is a song I did with Neil Diamond in '77.
So was that the first big hit that you had?
Sort of. It was on. My album came out on Valentine's Day of '77, and Gitchy Gumi was the single that we did from that, and that got played on all the country charts or country stations across the country, and so that was really pretty much the beginning of all of that.
So when you're writing these songs, are you just sitting down with a notepad, guitar, and going and start playing and start writing? Or are you writing lyrics first? Are you writing the music first? Do you have a process for this, or you just and how is that for you?
Yes, and yes.
What's your preference?
Sometimes I'll come up with a title,
Yeah.
or I'll
theme?
come up with a hook line,
Yeah.
and sometimes I'll come up with a melody. I just got this tune in my head, so then I'll start writing words to fit the tune.
Okay.
So I sort of do it in reverse in that sense.
Yeah.
But when I write, sometimes they just boing off the wall, and things come out. And some of my best songs were written in 15, 20 minutes, and I spent days and days and weeks and even months on some songs before they actually came together as a song.
Do you have a personal favorite of yours that means the most? They're like this one's
No, and it sounds funny to say no, I don't. But if I write it and people enjoyed it, if it's a slow song or if it's a fast poppy, I like what my favorites are the ones that people like and resonate with, which might be a weird answer for that, I guess. But.
Other songwriters have described what songwriting is that the song is like the children. Do you feel like the same way? This is my child, and I'm giving it away, or do you like this is a song I wrote here?
I did feel that way at first, and I had actually Neil Diamond said to me, "Stop writing songs the way people talk. Start writing songs about things people wouldn't say."
Yeah.
Like you're going to have a conversation and talk about, well, Gitchy Gumi. Well, you're going to say
Like more
that.
metaphorical or poetic or?
Yeah, and what's a good example? You are the sun, I am the moon. You are the words, I am the tune. Play me by Neil Diamond.
Yeah.
So you don't sit down and say, well, Sammy, you are the sun, you are the moon. I am the tune, or you are the words, and play me. Well, first of all, that would be pretty weird saying that to you.
I mean, I've heard it before.
Maybe you make it uncomfortable too.
So
You
he
keep
told me,
talking.
he told me to stop writing songs about the way people
You're
would
easy.
talk.
Yeah.
Because everybody always says, oh, I love Susie and she's
Yeah.
my girl. But that's the way people would talk. stop writing songs about the way people talk.
Go around the words and try to find what I see what you're saying.
Yeah. So I changed that, and a lot of my songs changed quickly.
So how long did you tour with and do that with Neil Diamond?
I was with Neil Diamond in 69, 70, 71, 72, 73. And then I left Neil and went straight to Nashville to meet Eddie Arnold. If anyone's old enough to still remember Eddie Arnold. Eddie Arnold did "Make the World Go Away" and "Welcome to My World." He had a million hit songs. And I met with Eddie Arnold and a guy named Farron Young, who also had a million hits songs.
Country songs.
Country songs, yeah, all in the country market. And started playing, writing with them, and other Opryland stars, Marty Robbins. They had a TV show come on when they launched the Nashville Network.
Yeah.
I fast forwarded to 1980.
Yeah.
So 1980, the Nashville Network launched, 81, and it was sponsored by the Grand Ole Opry, filmed at the Grand Ole Opry, Opryland Productions, Opryland Studios for the Nashville Network, and they had a TV show called You Can Be a Star. It was the predecessor to Star Search,
Yeah.
with Ed McMahon and all that stuff. So they asked me if I'd come on You Can Be a Star, be a contestant. So,
How'd you feel about that?
okay.
Were you nervous at all?
No, I wasn't nervous. I'm still dumb and naive and just a singer-songwriter from Zumbrota, Minnesota. I went on the show and not thinking that it's a talent show, not a songwriter show. There's a big difference. The voice on TV is about your voice, not about your songwriting, not about your music talent. It's about your voice. America's Got Talent, that's a little different.
Yeah.
American Idol, that's a little different.
Yeah.
So I went on thinking I better do some original songs. So my first appearance, I did an original song, and I won that day. They had daily shows, and the daily winner would go up against other daily winners to compete on Friday for the weekly winner.
Uh-huh.
And then the weekly winners, after a 13-week series, competed to go to the Grand Championship week. I played all original songs.
Were these all televised or they're all
It's
radio?
all, yeah, this is all televised,
Okay.
yeah.
Did the cameras being there make you nervous at all? Or
No, I like them. I'm like waving to the folks and hi Mom. I'm grinning and laughing at some points, even in the middle of the song. So anyway, so I went on to win the thing with and Porter Wagner, Brenda Lee, all kinds of people you'd know were on there. Jerry Clower, the country comedian of the year, funny guy. But so I'm on there with all these shows, and with that you get an appearance on the Grand Ole Opry.
Wow.
Right, or as part of your winnings. So my first appearance on the Grand Ole Opry, Ernest Tubb is hosting, and you said you introduced me as Gary Growden, and it's Gary Growden, which is perfect for you. That was a good job, Bob.
Yeah.
Ernest Tubb, and they had cue cards back in those days where they hand write them.
I don't have cue cards, by the way. I don't.
Yeah, we don't have cue cards, but I'm Gary. If you're seeing this on camera with the cowboy hat. Ernest Tubb is introducing me, and you'd think he would have practiced the name or read the cue cards or something. So I was on with Marty Robbins, Tanya Tucker, Stella Parton, Dolly's younger sister that does the 9 to 5 TV show.
Okay.
So anyway, Ernest Tubbs introducing, he says, "Ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome winner of You Can Be a Star of the Nashville Network, Mr. Gary Hart." And he called me Gary Hart. I was Gary Hart for several years on the Grand Ole Opry. So don't feel bad.
So Gary Hart's your stage name then?
No, it was for a couple of years, and I went back to, what?
Gary Growden?
Yeah, I was going to change it to Engelbert Humperdinck, but that was kind of weird.
That's amazing. So you started off, you're coming from coffee shops, playing in coffee shops with Steve Goodman and John Prine.
Yeah.
Then talent agents saw your talent. All of a sudden you were on the road with Neil Diamond. Amazing.
Yeah.
And then your winning of
You can be a star.
You can be a star, which is amazing. And then after that, yeah, it's listing all your people that you've cheered with. You hit the road, essentially,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, I
So
went on
Roy
the road.
Clark, Don Williams, Conway Twitty, Marty Robbins, Oak Ridge Boys, Larry Gatlin, Tanya Tucker, Hank Thompson.
Yeah.
What was it like on the road? What was road life?
I was on the road for almost 16 years.
Wow.
And, you play 5, 6, 7 nights a week, depending on where you're at or who you're with. And I'm young. I ate it up, and I would drive, I would ride. We didn't have big fancy tour buses. They did, but I either got to ride underneath or follow. so I followed in my car most of the time.
Underneath? What does that
Yeah,
mean?
underneath, in those buses, in the luggage compartment.
No kidding.
No, so I didn't do that, obviously.
I mean, those compartments are pretty big.
Well, yeah, there were some
like
nice
the ones they
ones.
have now.
I brought a couch one time and my little lounger. So it was fun. I loved being on the road, and I loved playing. I loved traveling.
So were you based out of Nashville at that time? So you were living
Yes.
in Nashville? Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
Nashville Network shows, including Nashville Now, Picking at the Paradise, and I-40 Paradise.
16 years on the road. So there's got to be a couple like holy crap stories, like something that happened or something really weird that you're like you could never forget, right? There's got to
Yeah.
be.
All of them.
Well, share one or two of those.
There's
One that sticks out, like holy moly, it was really cool or crazy.
well.
Come on.
Okay, this isn't a bad story. This is a good
Oh.
story. We were playing in Kansas City, and I had my own room, and I don't know if I was fortunate, but just as a band member, I had my own room, and went up to the whatever floor my room was on, but I came down at the bar first. And there's a musician playing there, playing for the piano bar thing.
Yeah.
And somebody there asked if I could get up and sing a song with them. So I did. And I'm up on their little piano bar. I'm playing guitar, but the guy's playing piano, and I sang a couple songs. And in the audience, because across the street was the amphitheater with another big star in concert that night, Gary Wright. Remember Dreamweaver?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So Gary Wright's over there.
Weaver.
Yeah, that is it. So Gary was down there in the bar, and he says, "Hey, come on up to my room, man. We're gonna have a party." And blah, 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 blah.
All right.
So I went upstairs to Gary Wright's room, and
And
well, there were more women than I've ever seen in a country bar.
3 of them.
There were 3 of them. Well, 3 was my record at a country thing, and this was like 842 of these little rascals running around.
so I'm sure you want probably want to get in detail, but what time did you get home that night? Or morning?
It was next Tuesday.
Okay.
That was a Friday.
Wow. So you had a lot of fun then.
Those were good fun
You made
times.
some new friends. You made some new friends.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's nice. Isn't that nice?
So
16 years on the road. Any other story that you
well,
want to share?
that sounds like a good song just by itself.
16 years on the road. Yeah. Yeah, I'm sorry.
So, yeah, you're in Nashville, on the road, in and out of Nashville. I'm reading now, all of a sudden your agent calls you, and all of a sudden he has some movie parts for you.
Yeah, I'll add a little bit to that story to get to that point.
Thank you.
I was married, or got married somewhere in there, and got divorced. I took custody of my 2 kids. So I was Mr. Mom. I left Nashville, moved back to Chicago, and my agent called and said, "Well, you can't just walk away. You want to do some movies?" And I'm thinking, well, I've never been an actor in my coffee houses or on the road. So yes, I said. And I was in Hoffa. I was a thug in the movie Hoffa with Jack Nicholson and Danny DeVito.
Whoa.
Shut
Armand
up.
Asante. A whole bunch of other little
In a
rascals
scene
there.
with those actors? In a scene with them? Or
Yeah.
Wow.
And I had like speaking parts, and as a thug, it's mostly and
Yeah.
mostly sound effects. So from there, I did another movie called Mad Dog and Glory
Yeah.
with Robert De Niro, Uma Thurman, Bill Murray.
Wow.
These were all Martin Scorsese films. So I
what
did
were you playing
those.
that one? What were you in that one?
I was a bar drunk, and I had to give Robert De Niro a little hard time because he's trying to get along with the mafia, and I'm just he thought I was a plant. So I'm just a bar drunk,
Nice.
playing a bar drunk. Now, careful what you wish for.
Did you get a sexy drink during the set?
Did I?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
They didn't serve
It's method
water,
acting.
colored water. They were real drinks.
Nice.
Did you get to meet Scorsese?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
What was
met
he like?
Scorsese. A weird duck. But,
Yeah, I'd imagine.
but unbelievably talented.
He's done some movies, and some good ones all the time.
Yeah, and I was in
Over the
Mo
years.
Money with
Oh,
with Spike Lee.
wow.
Watch It with Peter Gabriel. Home Alone 2 with Macaulay Culkin and all those little rascals. I was a store clerk in Home Alone 2, so.
Are you still getting paid for these movies, though, or not?
No.
Okay.
I didn't give them a forwarding address either, so
Oh, sure.
I moved back to Minnesota, and now I'm just playing all over clubs, and I did retire and stop playing completely.
Was there a reason why?
No,
Okay.
I just kind of stopped, and then I played one night. Somebody asked me if, Gary, you're a musician. Could you play a song or two? So I said okay. That was actually at the Mud Room. Can I say the Mud Room?
Yeah. Of course.
It's a bar in Mendota Heights. I'm playing there Thursday night. At the Mud Room, they said, Gary, could you play a song? And the regular band left. So I finished out the night, and then from there, people said, oh, can you play here? Oh, can you play there? Now can you play here? So I'm playing all over the Twin Cities in spite of myself, in spite of my retirement. I'm playing 2 and 3 nights a week all over the cities and the area of
Enjoying it,
Wisconsin. And what?
You're enjoying it, though, right?
I'm loving it. Because I quit playing for 10, almost 15 years.
Wow.
Yeah, it's quite a way to get out of retirement.
I know.
Yeah, so we met you at a bar out with Matt Eagle Eyes Higgins. He introduced
Yeah.
me to you, and I've seen you play a few times, and it's just always a treat to see you play. It's awesome to meet you. But yeah, talking about your future shows, you mentioned you had some dates for me, and being a musician, that you were looking for a bass player. So lucky me,
Yeah.
Gary asked me to play with his trio, and moving forward with all these other dates, potentially getting a bigger band, a 10-piece band.
Yep. There's, being a solo thing, acoustic act is one thing, and some of the arts in the park and some of the casinos, some of the other bigger venues around the cities. There's a promoter here in town that wanted me to play those, and he said, but it's tough to book you as a single. Can you put together a trio? And I went, sure. Mm-hmm. So we got arts in the parks and all those park venues, some of the casinos. But then he said, since you used to play with Neil Diamond, can you put together a world-class Neil Diamond tribute band? He said, we've got investors that'll put and pay for blah, 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 blah. So I said, sure. But that is a little tougher than you might think.
Mm-hmm.
I've got 10 musicians. I wanted a 10-piece band so we could do the full sound. But getting 10 guys that aren't playing with somebody else somewhere these nights, those nights, even to practice or get together, is tough. And then to get commitments full time from a band like that is difficult. So that's a yes, no, maybe. The Neil Diamond tribute thing, but we're certainly going to do the trio, and I would love to have Sammy involved.
Sounds like you need an opening act, too.
Well,
Was that subtle? Was that subtle? Was that subtle?
Was
Not so
Was that
much.
subtle? It's kind of subtle, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, so Neil's retired too, so he couldn't do it.
That'd be funny if he's going to his own.
When's the last time you talked to Neil? Probably when you played with him.
Just before Christmas.
Just before Christmas. Okay, so
Yeah,
you're still in touch
this
with
year.
him.
Yeah,
That's
a little
awesome.
bit. And he sent me a real nice Christmas message that I posted on my Facebook page, and sent me a video, thanking me for the years and all those kind of things. But he's got Parkinson's, and he was in such rough shape. It makes you sad. You sit there tearing up watching your guy go through this, and I'm devastated by it. I hate it.
So,
But
there's
love Neil Diamond to death.
one quick question. I know you're trying to push time. When you're in a band like that, when you're supporting Neil Diamond, before you guys go on stage, are you kind of like a team? Like you're trying to, like, you know, or is it like Neil's a separate entity and like just follow him and hope it all goes good? Or is there kind of a camaraderie, kind of like we're going to do this together and you know?
Yeah, there was camaraderie with some of the guys, and some of the guys have been with him longer. I was like the new guy on the block, so I'm kind of like over in the corner just watching and listening. And I didn't need encouragement like, Gary, you can do this. I know, that's why I'm here. So it wasn't weird for me, maybe because I hadn't played all around like a lot of the guys. Yes, I paid my dues as a musician, and I've been around for 100 years, since 1955, and played some world stages as a jazz drummer. Oh, I'll tell you what, do I have time for one more quick story?
Yeah.
This goes back to my drum days. I'm playing at the International Amphitheater in Chicago on guitar. And I'm playing over at the Stockyard Inn in the amphitheater. And in concert that night over in the big amphitheater was another band. So I kind of walked through the back alleys and the back lanes and went over there, and it was dark in there except for a couple spotlights on stage. I walk up from backstage, and there's drums set up there. I'm like, oh, I should probably sit down and see if I could just, tinker and do something. There's nobody here. So there were sticks there, and I picked them up, started playing. Pretty soon the lights came up, and a couple guys came walking out from backstage. They're doing sound checks. So he started playing, and this guy started playing, and I'm still just playing. They didn't have drum techs like they have now, and everybody's got their own technician. So I'm playing this set of drums, and this guy over here is playing lead, and this guy comes out playing some rhythm. A bass player never came out, so we're just kind of jamming, and they're doing the sound checks. I said, okay, I gotta get back to work next door. I walk off and I go to shake this guy's hand. It was Eric Clapton, and the rhythm player that came out was George Harrison.
Who?
Are you kidding me?
Yeah. So then I walked around in front, to cut across stage to meet George Harrison. I didn't know it was him at the time. And the drums I was playing were Ringo Starr.
No.
Had it on the bass drum.
You didn't look at the bass drum.
No, well, I didn't go around to the front. I just climbed up from the back.
Oh my gosh, Gary! Wow.
So the band that was in concert was Delaney and Bonnie. You ever heard of Delaney?
No.
And they did. You don't know like I know. What this? No, not you don't know like I know. I don't know. Look up Delaney and Bonnie.
We will.
You'll know their hits. And they had a bunch of hits. They were short term, but Eric Clapton's playing lead for him, and George Harrison's playing rhythm, and Ringo came out then to play drums, and I was gone. So
you showed him up.
I didn't get to meet Ringo.
Were you shocked to meet Eric Clapton? And
A little bit, but I was more in a hurry to get back over to my show. Well, thanks, Eric. Can I call you Eric? Or is that Mr. Clapton to you?
And same thing with George.
Yeah.
Seriously,
Yeah, George Harrison, and this was 1973.
Were they cool? Were they like, hey, that was
Yeah,
fun.
they were cool, and
Cool.
yes, and both of them did. Yeah, it was fun. Good job, buddy. I'm proud of you. I love you. Okay,
Yeah.
say hello to the missus. I gotta tell you, what do you say?
Right. Oh, Gary, that's amazing. That's an amazing
Yeah,
story.
fun old stories.
Yeah, guys, man, I wish we had more time, but I
Well,
think we have to wrap it up.
we
Gary,
gotta
we'd
do
love to have you back.
Part
man.
2.
But yeah, part 2. We'll do a part 2 of Gary.
The naughty stories.
Yeah, we got to go into depth to some of these.
Remember all those
details of
girls
these
with Gary,
stories.
right?
Yeah.
Okay.
But what do you think, Gary? Do you think we could get you to play drums tonight?
Probably not.
Oh.
At my age, well, I've slowed down years ago. But even on guitar, you get arthritis and you get stiffer, and so now I just kind of slam chords out there and they work.
Yeah,
So-
they do. So I imagine, Gary, you're going to stick around for the open mic. You're going to perform
Absolutely.
tonight. Yeah,
Yeah.
cool. So lucky us, we're going to see Gary perform tonight. And if I can get it set up, we'll record your performance, your multi-track.
Perfect.
So yeah, and we can add that to the podcast too. But Rob, you got anything else?
No, I don't. Why would you ask? Oh, yeah. No, I don't. No, I don't.
Take us out, Rob.
Well, this has been the Terminal Cast. Thanks again for joining our show. Thanks again for Gary for doing this. And we really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Gary.
And thank you for Sammy G running the sound. Yeah. You should tune in again, and we'll have this sometime in the future. The near future. It'll be on the internet somewhere. I don't know.
Beautiful. Couldn't have done that better myself.
Yes, they could have.
Terminal Bar Podcast. Good night.
Shalom.
Feliz Navidad. Or what?
Feliz happy birthday.
You said good night, you said shalom.
Or Merry Christmas.
Yeah. Feliz Navidad. Vaya con Dios.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. That's great. And Pro Tools ran the entire time. I think we got it. Sorry, open mic people. We'll help you set up. We'll get out of here as soon as we can. Thanks.
Thank you.
That's inspiring. Is that a record?
Yeah, thanks, dude.